Cartagena. You've seen it on your feed. The colorful walls, the rooftop parties, the Instagram couples in linen. Looks like a dream, right? But here's what nobody tells you before you book the flight. Is it actually safe for Americans? Is all that charm real, or is it a performance? Why do some people come back absolutely obsessed and others come back disappointed? How much does it actually cost? And what's the thing everyone who's been there knows but never says out loud? I spent months living there, not vacationing, actually living, and this is everything I wish someone had told me before I landed. Let's get the elephant out of the room immediately, because I know what you're thinking. Colombia, cartel country, narcos. You've seen the Netflix show, you've heard the warnings, and somewhere in the back of your mind there's a voice asking whether this is genuinely stupid. Here's the honest answer. The reputation has roots. Colombia's history is real, and it isn't ancient, but the Colombia of today, and specifically Cartagena, operates in a completely different reality than the one your parents warned you about. The city's entire economy runs on tourism. International visitors are the product being sold. That means the infrastructure around keeping tourists comfortable, safe, and spending money is deeply motivated and largely effective. The danger that exists isn't the cinematic kind. It's the ordinary urban kind that exists in any major American city too. Opportunistic theft, price manipulation targeting obvious foreigners, scams that work because tourists don't know the baseline. These are manageable with basic awareness. Lock your valuables in your accommodation. Use registered taxis or apps. Never just wave something down at night. Agree on prices before you commit to anything, whether it's a tour, a boat trip, or a cart of fruit. Don't flash expensive gear in crowded markets. Keep your phone in your pocket in the old town at night, not in your hand. I walked those streets constantly, went out late, took wrong turns, ended up in places I hadn't planned on. My worst experience was a taxi driver who charged me double and felt bad about it afterward and gave me a warm soda as compensation. That's the threat level, a warm Colombiana in mild guilt. Now here's the part that makes some people uncomfortable, but you need to know it. Cartagena has a significant party tourism economy, and some of that economy includes things that aren't in the Lonely Planet. Drug tourism is real, concentrated mostly around certain beach clubs in the Getsemani nightlife zone after midnight. You'll be offered things. A simple no and keep walking works every time. Nobody is chasing you down the street. The transactional social dynamics around certain bars and clubs, particularly those catering to international male travelers, are visible if you're paying attention. It's connected to the economic gap between what foreign visitors earn and what locals earn, a gap that's hard to overstate. This isn't something to moralize about at length, but it's worth understanding because it shapes a lot of the interactions that tourists misread as purely organic. Petty scams cluster around the tourist-heavy areas of the Old Town, the friendly local who offers to show you around and presents a bill, the artisan market where the first price quoted is 4 times the real price. These aren't aggressive or dangerous, they're just the background noise of a city that has learned how to extract value from people who don't know the local rates. Learn the rates. The noise stops. Here's where American travelers get genuinely shocked, and it's in a good way. Cartagena is not cheap by Colombian standards. It's a tourist city, and prices reflect that. But compared to what you're used to paying back home, it borders on embarrassing. A proper local lunch, bandeja, fish, rice, plantains, fresh juice, runs about $2 at a neighborhood spot away from the tourist center. A genuinely good dinner at a restaurant in the Old Town, the kind with good service and a real menu, comes out to maybe $15 to $20 a person, including drinks. I ordered delivery one afternoon, grilled fish, coconut rice, patacones, a liter of lemonade, and the total was under $8. Try ordering anything resembling a real meal delivered to your door in any American city for $8. I'll wait. Accommodation. Decent hostels start around $12 to $15. A well-located Airbnb with air conditioning, which is not optional. I want to be extremely clear about this. runs $40 to $60 a night. If you're staying a month or longer and renting outside the old town in a residential neighborhood, you can find furnished apartments for $300 to $500 a month. The thing that caught me completely off guard: fresh tropical fruit, everywhere, constantly, for almost nothing. A bag of mangoes, maracuya, guanabana from any street cart costs less than $1. In any American city, that same bag gets rebranded as artisanal, put in a paper bag with a logo on it, and sold for $11 at a farmer's market. So why do people arrive for 5 days and quietly extend their return flight? The practical side first, because I know the remote workers in the audience are doing the mental math. Internet is reliable enough for video calls and standard remote work. Not the fastest you'll ever use, but consistent. Co-working spaces have expanded significantly in Getsemani in the Manga neighborhood. The weather is hot and humid year-round, which either suits you or it doesn't. There's no mild season to hide behind. If you run cold naturally and hate air conditioning, Cartagena is going to challenge your identity. But the practical stuff isn't what keeps people. What keeps people is harder to describe without sounding like a travel ad, which I'm actively trying to avoid. There's a sensory density to Cartagena that's unlike most cities. The colors of the buildings in the old town aren't a tourist gimmick, they've been that way for centuries. The music that comes out of doorways and plazas in the evening is actual cumbia from actual people who grew up with it, not a playlist curated for ambiance. The smell of the Caribbean mixing with street food and old stone is something your brain files permanently. And the people have a quality that's genuinely difficult to fake. There's a warmth and directness in social interactions that most Americans aren't used to from strangers. People make eye contact. Conversations start easily. There's an openness that feels structural rather than performed. The moment that landed it for me, I was sitting in a plaza at dusk doing absolutely nothing. No phone, no agenda, and realized I had been there for 2 hours and had zero impulse to be anywhere else. That's not something you can manufacture. That's a city that actually works on you. The region around Cartagena is also one of the most underused arguments for going. The Rosario Islands are 40 minutes by boat. Clear Caribbean water, coral reefs, the kind of thing that costs a fortune to access from Florida. The mud volcano at Tutumo is one of the stranger and more memorable experiences you can have anywhere in South America. The colonial town of Mompox, a few hours away, makes Cartagena look crowded. Now, the map section, because this is the part you'll want to save. Cartagena sits on the Colombian Caribbean coast. The old city is surrounded by colonial walls. That's the historic center, the part you've seen in photos. It's small enough to walk entirely. The old town itself is the obvious choice for first-timers. Safe, beautiful, everything accessible on foot. It's also the most expensive part of the city, and after a week it can start to feel slightly artificial, like a version of Cartagena designed for export. Getsemani, directly adjacent to the walled city, is where the real texture is. It's gentrifying fast. Boutique hotels and specialty coffee shops are moving in, but it still has actual residents, actual neighborhood life, and the best value food and bars in the city. This is where I spent most of my time. Boca Grande is the beach district. High-rises, shopping malls, more Miami than colonial Colombia. Good if waking up near the ocean is your priority. Less interesting if you want to feel like you're actually somewhere. Manca is a residential island neighborhood connected by bridge, quieter, more local, worth considering for longer stays. Avoid wandering without purpose into the southern neighborhoods beyond Getsemani at night, not because they're inherently dangerous, but because there's no particular tourist infrastructure, and getting turned around in an unfamiliar area at night is never an ideal situation anywhere. What genuinely frustrates me about Cartagena? The tourist economy means you are permanently, visibly a target for pricing adjustments. Every transaction in a tourist-facing context starts from a number designed for people who don't know the real price. It becomes exhausting after a while, in a way that's hard to explain until you've lived it for a few weeks. You develop a low-grade negotiating fatigue. The heat is also not a minor inconvenience. It's a logistical fact that reorganizes your day. Between noon and 4 in the afternoon, outdoor activity is genuinely unpleasant. You work with the city's rhythm or you fight it and lose. What's remarkable, in spite of all that, Cartagena has a cultural coherence that feels earned rather than constructed. It's been a real city for 500 years. That history is in the architecture, in the food, in the way people move through the streets. You're not in a theme park. You're in a place that has its own logic and had it for centuries. The value for money, honestly assessed, is extraordinary for anyone coming from the US. You live better here on less money than almost anywhere you've been. That's not nothing. Cartagena isn't the easiest city to read, but if you put in the effort to actually understand it rather than just consume it, the experience is unlike anything else in the Caribbean. If you're planning a trip and want the practical breakdown, best time to go, which neighborhoods make sense for your budget, how to actually find the good food away from the tourist menus, drop your questions in the comments. I'll get to them. And tell me this, after everything you just heard, does Cartagena go on the list, or does the Colombia factor still give you pause? I'm genuinely curious where the hesitation is, because I had it too, and I was completely wrong about it.
Yeah. No, agree? Yes. How many days you stay? It's impossible, you know? Tá?